I want to move over. This is you've guys worked with Weird Homes Tour for a couple of years. Am I correct?
Yeah, this is yes, several.
Okay. So if you didn't know and you're watching this, that as I mentioned, Weird Homes Tour, whatever city they're in, they donate a portion of their proceeds to charity. When we're doing the Austin tour, which is coming up on September 5th of 2020, they are donating a portion to Lifeworks. But I'm curious to hear, what are other ways, if someone, has heard this story, hearing what you're talking about, and someone wants to get involved or support Lifeworks, how can they do that?
Absolutely. So we have, let me talk about the campaign to end youth homelessness real quick. So I described our services around housing, mental health, and education and workforce. Over the last several years, we have been engaged, our leadership, in a movement to end youth homelessness in Austin. And that actually is tied to reaching some benchmarks, making youth homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. Rare, meaning that we want as few youth as possible to ever experience the trauma of homelessness. Brief, meaning if a youth does experience homelessness, we want to make sure they are off the street and in permanent housing, not just shelter, but permanent housing within 30 days. And then non-recurring, meaning it only happens once. We get youth into the right kind of housing with the right kind of supports so that they succeed, right? So how you can get involved in Lifeworks right now, we have obviously financially, and there is more on our website, lifeworksaustin.org, about how to make a financial contribution to the campaign to end youth homelessness. But additionally, I have to tell you, so since October of 2018, which is when we launched kind of formally our campaign to end youth homelessness, we have housed 574 youth who are experiencing homelessness, and that's a lot.
Wow.
And more than 110 since March, right? So, one part of our response to COVID was saying, okay, we got to focus on what is most important for our organization at this time. And getting youth off the street and into housing was unquestionably the most important thing we can do during this time for our youth and for our community. So we have managed to house more than 110 since March, and we're actually about to scale up our efforts over the fall to do even more. But these are youth who are, a lot of them are coming directly from homelessness. They don't have many worldly possessions. They certainly don't have enough to fill an apartment. So one of the things that we are asking from the public and volunteers is to support move-in kits, right? Apartment starter kits for youth who are going to be moving into their first homes. And there's some information on our website about that. And we're partnering with a local partner that are just amazing called Cocoa Bundle to help us with that.
That's awesome. I mean, again, getting into the home feeling like a home, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like having the things that, I'll say an adult, but like that you have, right? If you haven't gone through that phase of life, I'll just say post high school, not even necessarily college, but going into college, that's, I am obviously a big supporter of continued education, but I think a big function of college is to be like, you're on your own and you're an adult and you have to figure it out, right? I think that is a huge, I say intangible, I suppose, but a huge aspect of college life. While you were talking though, I wrote myself down a note and I was curious, and maybe you can answer it, maybe you can't. So I don't want to put you on the spot here, but we talked about Austin being this, the top place to live in the US, right? And there's the flocking of people to come here. Do you have any sort of numbers or kind of comparative when it comes to youth homelessness in Austin as it compares to maybe either other cities, either in the region or something like that? And again, I don't want to put you on the spot here. This is certainly something that I'm sure data exists, But I'm just curious because I think a lot of people who maybe either visit here or are looking to move here don't understand homelessness is a major thing here. It is a major issue.
Yeah, and it's, city council a year plus ago in Austin, declared it as their top strategic issue in Austin, because in addition to topping all of these best place to live, best place to be single, I don't know what all the
whatever best, all the BuzzFeed lists, the top fives, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
What that masks is the got kind of a tale of two Austins going on here, right? What that masks is the other side of it, which is the disparity in wealth and opportunity. And just last week we topped another list, which was, worst place to make a living wage. And I saw some data, and this data is probably a couple of years old, where it would take somebody, more than an 80-hour work week to be able to actually afford, a median income apartment on minimum wage. Right?
You talked about that, the discrepancy, the division, if you will, of wealth, right? And I think that's what you get. You get a lot of people who are moving here from, from coastal larger cities, who are moving here, right? Because listen, Austin is fantastic. It's weird, but it's fantastic. It's a great place to live. But you get that influx of cash, and you get that influx of, I guess even like lifestyle, if you will, that comes with it. And it starts to overwhelm and tip the scales.
Right.
Right. So that was just while you were talking, I was just very curious as far as that goes.
Yeah, but you had asked me about homelessness in Austin and youth homelessness and how we compare to other cities, and it's very difficult to say. What I can tell you, and I'm going to kind of wonk out on you here for a second.
I gave you no warning, so wonking is 100% approved and accepted. I gave you no preparation for a question that very much all the research that you could have done. So I apologize.
Well, please cut me off if it gets a bit much. But at Lifeworks, obviously we're very much of the heart, and we love our youth. This is why we do this work, is they inspire us, right? And this love leads to us really knowing that if we can be of heart 24/7, right? But if we're also not of head, then none of it's going to matter. Our solutions have to work. They have to be what youth want, and our youth, they have to visibly lead to progress. So this led us to establishing a research and evaluation arm of the organization. And for us to get comfortable with, what? We provide services. We are going to ask all of the questions. We're going to measure progress. We're going to listen to our youth. We're going to do that very systematically, because if what we're doing isn't what needs to be done or isn't what's effective, then we're going to be okay admitting that and changing course fast. That's going to be our commitment, to always ask ourselves the question, how can we get better? How can we be the most relevant we can be for what youth believe they need, and hold ourselves accountable too for the progress that they make in
it's kind of the Google approach, if you will. I'm going to say this, and people are like, the fail fast. Google is
exactly
fail fasting.
Nothing hurts like figuring out that you failed slowly over a long period of time. We try to make our mistakes.
Pulling the Band-Aid off slowly. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, make our mistakes, make them quickly, and move on, and just be transparent, because we find, if anything, that just builds a lot of credibility with our youth.
Yes.
And frankly, a lot of credibility with our funders too, because most of them just really kind of want to know what works, right?
Well, no one wants to just be throwing money into flushing it down a toilet, like mistakes, particularly when it comes to, I would say of any business. This is something I also encourage even to my own clients who I work with, is that it's part of goal setting, and it's part of running a successful organization, whether it be nonprofit or profit, is understanding where you want to go.
Yeah.
You can't figure out if you're on the right path if you don't know where you want to go. That's part of the thing. It's okay.
Right.
Like I said, you may get detoured here or there, but you're hoping that Google will say recalculating, and you get back on the path, like that's what
exactly. Or you're like, oh, maybe the path needs to go over here a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Because that's what our youth are telling us.
Absolutely.
So all of this was, I'm sorry, a little bit longer way of saying that, we approach this not just Lifeworks, but community-wide issue of youth homelessness in a way where we're very diligent about understanding the data. So, I can tell you with a very large degree, well, I can tell you with 100% certainty that tonight there are 262 youth up to the age of 24 who are homeless, and they are on the waiting list for housing. So if you would compare us to San Francisco, undoubtedly they have a larger problem with homelessness than Austin does. But, our commitment is to understand the problem we have and solve it so we don't get to that point. So many of the larger cities are struggling with problems that, maybe they could have solved years ago, maybe they couldn't have, and we just don't want to get to that point.
Yeah.
We can. It is a manageable issue now if we're focused and if we're tenacious.